Some of the content covered may be graphic in nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Witchcraft.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely it's really just. I love stories like this because it's people just so scared to death. Yeah, that's a real thing. Just there are countless stories bad enough that you shouldn't fuck with, right? And the JFK assassination limo.
Real.
From the mistake on the lake, deep within the Great American Rust Belt, this is T3TV. I'm your host, John Mazitsky, alongside Dan Rady.
What is up?
And Steve Buddha Gibson.
What's up?
What's going on, gentlemen?
Just hanging out with
Feel
Dan.
great.
Trying to pass the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's fun times, man.
is it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In Ohio, especially.
Yeah.
It's-
Well, it snowed yesterday, and then it'll be 80 next week. So
Next week, yeah.
Um,
Is this?
so
I think this is one of the latest we've had. I mean, I know there's been times that we've had it later, but they said this is a pretty late time to have snow in April, this part in April.
So I used to set my my sister's birthday is in early May, and so I always used to set the my expectation of snow to come right around that time, like the last snow of the year. And last year it came on May 10th.
Wow. Did it snow that late last year?
I've told you guys before when I came home from the hospital when I was born, it was like a snowstorm, and I mean my birthday's the middle of May.
Yeah, I mean,
Buddha remembers that day too when he came out.
it's a cold day in hell.
Well, Dan, you were what, 40 then?
That's right.
Still riding his dinosaur.
Right.
Ugh.
Oh man, you suck.
So, is anything new with you guys this week?
This week is just dragging ass.
Yeah, we're definitely crawling across the finish line. So, all right. Well, obviously, neither of you have anything to contribute to that. So, we're going to news. All right. So, first thing here I saw in headlines, and this is from Insider.com. Looks like Russia's threatening to abandon the International Space Station and build its own. Russia could quit the International Space Station to focus on its own ambition to launch a space station of its own by 2030, Russian officials said. Deputy Prime Minister Yuri Borisov raised the prospect of Russia leaving in a Sunday interview with state TV. Per TASS, I don't know what that stands for, but TASS, I guess. Ass with a T in front. Borisov did not commit to leaving, but noted that Russia's existing comment or commitment only extends to the end of 2024. I cannot read today, and that Russia was not happy with the current condition of the ISS. So, amidst Russia, building up stuff at the Ukrainian border, also looking at backing out of the ISS.
Interesting.
These next 4 years are going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
Although,
go ahead.
Putin just signed. I don't know how it works in Russia. If they have any type of legislature, or if he just kind of makes stuff up on a whim. But he just signed something or passed something that allows him to be president for 2 more years, or I'm sorry, 2 more terms.
Yep, I read that.
I can't get a read on that guy. The media has, I've seen good things, I've seen bad things, I've heard he's a murderer. I don't know. I can't get a read on the truth about that guy.
They're all bad. Every single one of them.
All right. Speaking of Dan riding his dinosaur, Bo, did you see this? A new giant dinosaur species discovered in Chile.
That's every week. Which one is it?
All right. So this dinosaur, this is from phys.org. The dinosaur belongs to the Titanosaur dinosaur family tree, but is unique in the world due to its features on its dorsal vertebrae. The it's like our car again. I mean, these words they're insanely hard to read. and I'm an idiot. I'm sure that somebody's going to point that out, other than you two. But it says this indigenous language that means, again, Atacamino bones lived in what is now called the Atacama region during the end of the Cretaceous period, 80 to 66 million years ago. The fossil specimen belongs to a large quadruped herbivore measuring some 6.3, 20 feet 8 inches in length, but scientists determined that the remains that they found is that of a juvenile. So 20 feet 8 inches for a juvenile dinosaur. Have you heard about that one?
Isn't that the
I did
one that I
not.
talked about like a couple weeks ago?
Well, this story was published yesterday, so I mean, it could have been, yeah.
There was another one where it was the same family, that Titanosaur.
Yeah.
They had found something else that I had talked about a couple weeks ago. Like I said, dude, that's like
Sounds
a
like a
hotspot
bad
down there.
sci-fi movie, like Titanic.
Titanosaurus.
With dinosaur, Leo DiCaprio riding a floating dinosaur.
Right up there with the sand sharks.
Titanosaur. Hold on a second.
Titanosaur.
Oh, Jesus.
All right,
Doing
I had
this
to.
again.
Just once. All right. In other news, crap, this thing closed. These gender reveal parties, they just keep getting more and more out there. It says-
Ridiculous.
yeah. New Hampshire gender reveal explosion party. The explosion rocks the town miles away. This is off of Fox News. A gender reveal celebration that involved more than 80 pounds of explosives rocked a New Hampshire neighborhood and beyond Tuesday night. The blast was felt as far away as northern Massachusetts, the union leader reported. So, I mean,
Unbelievable.
I wish people would just understand that nobody gives a shit
Gives a fuck.
what your fucking kid is except
I
you.
know.
Like,
I mean, it used to be done with a phone call, a postcard, you know.
It wasn't
now
a
it's-
gender reveal party then. It was just
dude,
Yeah.
there was like a couple months ago that one family that they tried to light off some smoke bombs because they're
Yeah,
fucking
they-
morons, and
they
they
killed
started
the
the
guy.
fire.
Yeah, they started a fucking forest fire.
Right, the one in California, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, dude, this is an annual thing in California, and you thought that would be a good idea.
Right.
And the worst part is you already procreated.
Well, and what about the other one where the guy was working on the explosion or whatnot for it, and it ended up killing him?
I think I
Darwinism.
heard something
Yeah.
about that one.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one too. So, well, there you have
That
it.
was a millennial thing. The millennials started that thing, man. That whole
Yeah.
They started a lot of bad shit.
It's a
Dude.
man. Whoa, it was hot in there. Will Ferrell, Ted Brogan. He must weigh 200 pounds. $1.90, thanks. All right. Let's see here. Okay. Again, another millennial thing, and you can thank COVID for this one. Florida nurse broadcasts butt injection during Zoom courtroom hearing. A Florida nurse inadvertently broadcast herself giving a patient a butt injection while waiting for her virtual court hearing to begin. Quote, "We've reached peak 305, Oville wrote, referring to Miami's code for someone appears to be getting a butt injection while appearing in a virtual hearing." So we have doctors waiting for the virtual hearing in the operating room and somebody getting an ass implant.
When you say butt injection, are we talking about the same thing?
In other news, let's see. This is also from Fox News. I got a bunch from Fox today. They were crushing it with the weird stuff. Houston police say crystal meth found in breakfast burrito. Illegal drugs hidden in breakfast food were found earlier this month by Transportation Security Administration officials at William P. Hobby Airport in Houston, according to a report. Breakfast burritos are delicious, but officers were surprised to find crystal meth inside the one pictured, the agency wrote. So,
Do you remember Zips?
yeah.
I
They
remember them.
were
Yep.
busted for like dealing drugs out the drive-through or something like that.
You know, I was talking to my mom about that the other day, and she said, from what I gather, it was pretty good food. I mean,
everybody
for being-
always said the fries were so good, but that's probably because they had cocaine on them.
Yeah. Now you think about it. That wasn't seasoned curlies.
I barely remember
Little
that
extra.
place.
Yeah, wasn't it on
Didn't that
the corner of Turney and Plymouth?
Didn't it?
No,
didn't
it was
turn
right
into
next.
Rallies?
It was right next to Taco Bell. Remember, it was
Wow, that's
boarded
going
up.
way back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it became the pager store, didn't it?
No, wrong. You're wrong spot.
Okay.
Do you know where? If you're going down Turney and Taco Bell is on your left,
Yeah.
there was a building right before you got to that Taco Bell. There was a building, and it was that. That's what was there.
That's going way back.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
just lost
they
every
tore that
listener.
down a long time ago, right?
All right. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. This one outside of let's see, Wisconsin. Tree struck, shattered by lightning outside of Wisconsin high school video shows. I'm gonna go to the picture here, but this thing's crazy. It was split right down the center. So when you guys see it pop up there, but a bolt of lightning basically split a tree right down the center like a hot dog. Distracted high schoolers may often find themselves staring out the window, but this time there was something to see. Underclassmen in Watoma Hills, Wisconsin, were preparing to take a standardized test when lightning suddenly struck a pine tree outside their high school building. My question is like, what were they doing filming, and they were able to catch that all at the same time? You know, I don't know. But then again, nothing surprised me about school these days.
Did you ever see the video where they said lightning struck like a river, and you just see it like dancing all over the river?
No.
No, I never saw that.
There was like a bunch of stuff that said it was actually like underwater explosives.
Oh, really?
But regardless, it's still pretty cool.
I'll have to check that out.
Didn't know lightning could strike the water like that.
Happens pretty much all the time, Dan.
Yep. I mean,
Well-
water does cover 75% of the earth. All right, buckle up, guys. This one's going to be a long one. All right. Ghost tour company that started in Williamsburg buys Lizzie Borden House in Massachusetts out of Williamsburg, Virginia. The Lizzie Borden House in Fall River, Massachusetts has been purchased by U.S. Ghost Adventures, a company that got its start in Williamsburg. To celebrate its new purchase, the company is giving away a ghost tour package for a party of two. It includes a 2-night stay at the Lizzie Borden House and $500 to go towards transportation costs. Would either of you spend a night in that house?
I
Knowing
would.
what happened there?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
'Cause I want to prove that if it's supposed to be haunted and I don't believe in ghosts, I would love to finally see a fucking ghost. If they're supposed to be haunted. It's not even supposed to be haunted, is it?
No, I mean, it's just something terrible happened there.
Well, yeah.
Well, no, they said it's supposed to be haunted, but like there was like this whole big thing about them like adding speakers that are hidden in the house, I've heard, so that they can just like kind of basically like the whole thing is manufactured to like be a fucking scam. Although like you're kind of going there to get scared, I guess. So is it really a scam? I mean, it's the same thing like paying to
True.
go to a haunted house attraction.
I always wondered that about the prison. I always wondered, people pay all that money, and that thing is so huge. I'm sure they
You're
manufacture.
talking about Mansfield?
Mansfield, yeah. I'm sorry, yeah, Mansfield. If anything does creepy happen there, I'm sure it's got
It's
to
a
be
super old building with a ton of really fucked up history, though.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
think about all the stuff that's happened there and all the people that, went there and spend the rest of their lives there.
Well, that doesn't mean a ghost is going to show up, though. But
I think the one thing that's pretty cool, because me and Natalie went there last year, and it was really cool. We did like the self-guided thing. But like what's pretty cool is you can like rent it out and stay the night, and then
Right.
like, you literally just walk around all night and do whatever you do. I think one of the guys I used to work with actually did that, but you got to have like a group of people.
Yeah, no, I mean, they do rent. They rent it out in groups, or they'll just do individual spots, but they'll fill it up. I mean, it sells out pretty quickly every time they go on sale for that.
Yeah, I remember the dude saying you had to book it like 6 months or a year in
Yeah.
advance.
I think
it's not cheap either, is it?
no, and it starts in April. They only do it. They do it in like the spring, summer months because it's not heated very well in the winter.
Would you heat a building that's not
absolutely.
being used?
Right.
It's just fucking
Well,
falling apart.
Yeah, and I mean, the way that building was heated was through. I mean, you saw it. There's fireplaces on the sides of, the cell blocks. But the cool thing about that, aside from it being the Shawshank prison, is you didn't realize, like, back in those times, a lot of the staff actually lived on site. Like Brooks's apartment that he hangs himself in was actually just a guard's apartment in the within the prison. But
Really?
I
don't think it was a guard's apartment because it's still there.
Yeah. Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's still there, but it was definitely an apartment for a guard.
Huh.
Because
I thought it was like an office.
No, we took the guided tour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I remember going.
Either way, it's just got like some super cool architecture. Architecture.
I remember going into a cell and like taking a picture, and then Shannon went there after me, and she's like, "Wow, it stinks in this cell still," and I was like, "No, that's because I farted." So, but all right. Let's see.
But yeah, I would stay in that. I'd stay in that house. Absolutely. I'd love to do that.
All right, Dan, this one's kind of for you because I know you always like these things. So a Massachusetts family hired a professional treasure hunter to investigate decades-old rumors of money hidden in their home, and he found $46,000 under the floorboards.
Wow.
So, Buddha, if you're working on somebody's home and you find $46K in the walls, you telling them?
Ah, man.
It's hard.
I think I would.
Yeah. Hoping that they'd cut you in a little bit.
Oh, they wouldn't.
Slip you a $100 or $2.
Yeah. I'd be like, at least buy me lunch, man.
Yeah, something. But
was there more to the story? How did they hear the rumors? What was the back story?
Yeah. It says Keith Weil of Gorton, Connecticut said he was contracted by a Western Massachusetts family who told him about a rumor of a large sum of money that was concealed in their home in the 1950s. The family says they hired carpenters to look inside the walls and underneath floorboards in the past, but no trace of the rumored cash was discovered. Willie then said he took his metal detector in the family's attic, and its signals showed there was something underneath the floorboards obviously in the attic. A look with an endoscopic camera revealed there was a metal box hidden under the floor. The family pulled up the floorboards and opened the box, discovering $46,000 in cash wrapped in original bank straps dating back to the 1950s.
Wow.
A family member who identified herself as Karen, go figure, said that the discovery came after many years of wondering if the stories of hidden money were true. I'm just glad it was finally found. She said the family has not yet decided what to do with the discovered cash. I'd say take it and put it all on black.
Yeah. That is crazy, man. Wow. I mean, most people would have given up by now. Like after the first time, having people look for it, they'd been like, it's not here. It was just a rumor. But they kept up with it to,
imagine, giving up on it, and then all of a sudden, the next people move in and they find it.
And they find it, right.
Yeah, right. That happened. That would be what happened to me.
What if like they thought like they had heard that it was just somewhere in the house and they just like destroyed the house and cost like $50,000 in damage, and then they find the money and it's only $46,000?
Yeah, fuck, I'm still 4 in the hole. Or the contractor's like, the metal detector guy's like, that's gonna be about $46,000 to find this.
or they find the metal suitcase, and then they open up and there's nothing in it.
Yeah.
Right.
After they destroyed the whole entire floorboard.
Like Geraldo in the Al Capone vault.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
I don't think what is that?
So supposedly Geraldo was pumping up this story for I don't know if it was weeks or days or whatnot. But supposedly he had found a vault in Chicago that belonged to Al Capone, and there was supposedly money behind it. And so they end up opening up the vault, and it was just like a whiskey bottle and a cigar or something. But he got a bunch of crap because it happened. They did a bunch of promotion. Tune in tonight or tune in Wednesday at 8:00 when they open the vault live. And then he goes to open the vault and there ain't shit in there.
Yeah, because they probably fucking cleaned it out first.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it real quick. It's probably
he was the butt of jokes for years after that because of that, from what I've heard.
Isn't he from Ohio or lives in Ohio or something?
He lives in Cleveland now. His here we go. Yeah, it's on. Let's see if I can bring it up here on YouTube. Oh man, Everything's like, oh, let's see.
The idea was to open the vault on live international television.
I'm Geraldo Rivera, and you're about to witness a massive concrete vault has been discovered. Some think it belonged to none other than the notorious Al Capone. Well, tonight, for the first time, that vault is going to be opened live.
Well, what happened that night 20 years ago made pop cultural history and made me the punchline of a million jokes, some of which are still being told. Today, for the first time since it aired in April 1986, here's a portion of the secrets of Al Capone's vault.
Now, what, if anything, that vault contains, we don't know.
Is it just me, or does he sound like a 1920s like radio broadcast announcer or something?
A little bit.
Yeah, like he's live at the circus. All right, let's see.
Is an adventure you and I are going to be taking together.
But when all was said and done, all I'd found was an old stop sign and a couple of empty gin bottles.
It seems, at least up to now that we've struck out with the vault, I'm disappointed about that, as I'm sure you are.
Then I swallowed my pride and kept my word.
I promised all the critics that if we didn't find anything, I'd sing a song. So, Chicago.
All right, cut it off right there. But yeah, what a dope.
Yeah, that guy sucks.
All right, all right, and so this is the last one I got for tonight. Buddha, you're gonna love this one. It says here, British Columbia singer breaks a record for lowest note sung by a female. So I have the attempt here. It's just I heard it because I was like, well, I wonder if she can hit it, and she does. It just sounds really funny. I don't know, is it just me or what? Not here.
La 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 la. La 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 la.
Currently hitting a C1.
I'm gonna have some nightmares tonight.
Try it, Satan.
Hold on one second. Who done it better?
You win. Satan wins.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Well, when in Rome, Buddha.
Oh man! All right, so hold on.
Wow.
Right, and this note right here, we're looking for the intensity in the waveform, but then also it's registering at 33.57 hertz. C1.
Of course, you would ask that, Dan. Why does that voice turn you on?
Here, Dan.
Oh.
It just sounds like like a moped or something. I don't know.
Something like a 4-cylinder
Ford Festiva
Japanese
1988 or something.
Yeah. Wow.
So, is that your belly? Are you hungry? Oh boy,
man.
That's all I got for tonight.
You're gonna play that for the rest of the show, aren't you? It's just gonna sneak. You're gonna sneak it in, aren't you?
Yeah. Every time there's just dead air.
Oh man,
Buddha, where'd you go?
It's just terrible.
He left. Now he's got that voice, and he's got Satan. Now Buddha's really pissed.
I wonder if I could patch this through and make it even deeper. Hold on a second.
La 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 la
You guys done yet?
He sounds even worse when he's laughing. Oh shit! Got tears in my eyes, man.
Oh,
Just screw me up now when I got to tell my story. Oh God.
All right.
Oh man.
Not impressed. All right. How do we go from creepy stories and people getting murdered to this?
Oh man. And my story is definitely on a very serious note after that.
Who did you want to go first instead?
No, it's all you, Dan.
Great, thanks. I just got tears in my eyes.
I'll give you one. I'll give you a short one. This is a short one.
Okay.
Let's see. This is actually a pretty old one, but there's a ton of reports on it. So in July 1518, residents of the city of Strasbourg, which was part of the Holy Roman Empire at the time, were struck by a sudden and seemingly uncontrollable urge to dance. And
I've heard about this, where the people dance themselves to death.
Yes. Well, then there's the fucking story. So I guess I'm done. I guess it was pretty short. No, so it's kind of known as the dancing curse, and they said there was a woman named Frau Troffe, I don't know how to say it. Frau Troffe stepped into the street, began to silently twist, twirl, and shake. Basically, she was standing in the middle of the street dancing, and everybody was just kind of looking at her like, okay, this chick's just having a good time. She's out there dancing. And they noticed that her feet, after a long period of time, her feet actually were bruised and starting to get bloody. And they said she was dancing solo for nearly a week, and then before long, just multiple people from the city started to join in, and they didn't really understand why. And by August, the dancing epidemic had claimed as many as 400 victims. So basically, yeah, these people would just start to get kind of tired, and then they would just either collapse from exhaustion or heat exhaustion or whatever. But they basically would just dance themselves to death, and they couldn't stop. And they didn't really have any idea why this was happening. So at the time, the local physicians blamed it on quote unquote hot blood, which they just thought it was some kind of crazy fever. And they just, they didn't really know what to do, but they couldn't actually perform any bloodletting because nobody would sit still because they were all dancing.
Well, I thought maybe it was something like parasites or something, like skin parasites, where they're itchy or something. I don't know.
I don't know. I guess it depends how specific the dancing was. But
what year did this happen?
1518.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's a long time ago, Dan. You were probably an infant.
Yeah.
But since they couldn't really do anything with this alleged fever, they decided to just kind of roll with it. So they constructed a stage, brought in professional dancers, a band, and they just kind of made it this big party that they were hoping that they could just hopefully What are you doing?
He's providing the dancing music.
They were just hoping that they could just get everybody to tire out and then just eventually just pass out. But yeah, it didn't really work out that way, and the people eventually just ended up dropping dead. But it says that this was actually well documented in the 16th century historical records, and it's not the only known incident. Similar incidents happen in places in Switzerland, Germany, and Holland, but none of them were as big and as deadly as this one from 1518. And they said most likely the explanation was some type of mass hysteria, which I don't remember the actual name of the effect, but if you guys have ever seen where one person essentially believes it so much and it almost passes from person to person. A lot of times when stuff like that happens, it'll
kind
actually
of like a placebo.
No, it's I've seen a lot of stuff where it actually happens in families where it'll, for whatever reason, it passes between family members, and it's just there was this other story about this. I could actually do a whole story on it, but just to make it super short. Basically, this woman told her daughter that her dad was in the mob, and the dad basically acted like he was in the mob. And they said that there was someone out that was, there was a hit out on him and the family. So this girl needed to do these check-ins, and she was told that she always had like a guard, even though she could never see him. He was always there. And if there was ever trouble, she needed to call, whatever this number was, which was to alert I believe it was the FBI that was supposed to be tailing her at all times for her safety. So this went on for years. And this one time someone actually broke into her apartment, because this went on from when she was a kid until she was old enough to be on her own, and something happened, and she called whoever, and they were like, we have no idea who you are. Like, it was the FBI, and they're like, whatever the person's office number was. So when she called, it was clearly not the correct person, because that person didn't actually exist. And it turned out that the mom and the dad had nothing to do with the mob. There was no hit out on them, but there was like some mass hysteria that happened between the two of them where they believed that this was true, and there was like no legitimate reason for any of it to happen. And then there's other ones where like an entire family disappeared. They all went on the run, like 5 of them. And it was just, it turned out that like they went cross country, and then as they stopped, one family member would go back home and then realize, wow, none of that stuff they were saying, there's nobody after us, everything's normal. And then they would stop somewhere else, and the next family would go back home. And it was almost like as they would start to break away, this mass hysteria would would wear off, and they all inevitably just ended up going back home and just living their lives like normal. And when they were asked about it, they were like, I don't know why I thought this, but this feeling was just so strong, and clearly it wasn't even anything real. But back to the dancing thing, the big things was the mass hysteria thing. They said the possibility that dancers were the members of a religious cult that had accidentally ingested ergot, which is basically a toxic mold that grows on damp rye and produces spasms and hallucinations. So that could kind of be like what you were saying, John. Like, it's not a parasite, but if it's producing spasms, like, what if it's like the one guy at the concert who's just like, he's spasming, and some other person's like, wow, that guy's dancing, we should all dance. And then it just kind of kicks off.
Right. Like a medieval Footloose.
Yes. Dancing's illegal.
Yeah. Until you're dead. All right. And you got something else for tonight, or you want to ping it?
Yeah, I do.
All right, Dan, why don't you take the wheel?
All right. Well, so have either one of you heard about the Tesla crash that happened last weekend?
Yep.
Nope.
Okay. All right. So this story involves 3 things that I do like. It involves cars, technology, and somewhat of a little bit of a mystery. So I'll kind of get to the story here, and there's some glaring problems that I think this is really bringing up here, this crash especially that just happened. So to get to the story real quick, 2 gentlemen, a doctor that owned this Tesla, it was a 2019 Tesla Model S. Him and his buddy, the owner was a 59-year-old doctor, and his friend was a 69-year-old engineer that owned his own business. So neither of these guys were, we're not talking some 20-some-year-old dumb kids. I mean, these guys were obviously, you would think, pretty intelligent. Anyway, he tells his relative that he wants to test out the Tesla's self-driving, the Autopilot feature. So him and his friend get in the car, and this happened in an upscale Houston neighborhood, Houston, Texas. So he gets in the car, they get in the car, they take off. Moments later, the car at a high rate of speed loses control, hits a tree, bursts into flames immediately. Both gentlemen, unfortunately, are killed, and the car starts on fire. Well, the police get there, firemen get there, they start putting the car out. They find that the they find that the gentleman is in the one person. You screwed me all up, John. So they find the one guy in the passenger seat. Now the other gentleman is in the back seat of the car. So this brings up obviously a million questions. What the hell was the guy doing in the back seat of the car? There was no driver in this car when it crashed. So First off, I want to get to one portion of this before we get into the whole technology, the autopilot portion of this. This fire, because of these lithium batteries, it took about 4 hours to completely put the car out. The car burned for 4 hours. It took almost 32,000 gallons of water, and this, you can look this up, to put this car out. Now they did get the flame under control pretty quickly, but the battery kept flaring up. They could not put this damn battery out. It just kept burning and burning and burning. Finally, about 4 hours later.
Is there a lot of magnesium in that battery?
Well, it is a lithium battery, so I don't know. I don't know what the makeup is of these car batteries. I know it's considered like a lithium battery, but I don't know what the makeup is. It could. But it continuously kept flaring up, so they had to keep pouring water on this. 32,000 gallons of water. And this brought up, in my mind, the first problem is, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, when you have tons and tons of electric cars on the road, and you have a 10-car pileup on the freeway or 20-car pileup on the freeway, and there's a bunch of electric cars burning up and all these batteries, and it's going to take them hours and hours to put these batteries out and put these cars, unless, of course, the manufacturers start encasing the batteries better so that they don't burn like this. But I mean, imagine all that pollution going in the air. I mean, we talk about the electric car is supposed to be, there's no pollution coming out of it. But boy, in the future, if a car burning for 4 hours, imagine that. That's a glaring problem in my opinion. But of course, gasoline burns a lot faster. It takes a little longer for the battery to catch on fire than it would like an actual ICE engine.
And its flashpoint, you have to consider that too.
Right. But that part there was kind of amazing. I even heard, I don't know if this was true or not, but that the fireman there actually had to call Tesla up and ask them, how do you put this car out? And someone at Tesla said that just let it burn itself. It'll just have to burn itself out, believe it or not. So
really? They couldn't even smother the fire?
like
putting sand on it or something,
Yeah, I'm sure they.
That seems like a pretty terrible safety issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And this isn't the first time that these electric cars have burst into flames a lot of cars can burst into flames, but these electric cars are definitely prone for this to happen more than your standard internal combustion.
Yeah, but I mean, if it hadn't gotten into an accident, it wouldn't have caught on fire.
Well, correct, absolutely, but still, I mean, would an internal combustion engine start on fire like that? It might, because there's gasoline, but
the Ford Pinto, Dan.
Yes, the Ford Pinto. Yeah,
dude. Yep. In like the last month, probably month and a half, I've been past like 3 car fires every time I leave for work. Every time I leave work.
Really,
dude, isn't it like? And it's kind of unnerving because you never really see a car on fire. I don't know, like even just like, what was it, a year ago? Remember that big apartment complex that was being built over on the west side caught on fire?
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, we drove past that fire on our way home from Michigan, and it's just, there's something unnerving about watching like a structure or something that's not supposed to be on fire, like engulfed, and then see the wreckage of it afterwards. I don't know, it's just really weird. And so seeing a car fire
and
on the side of the road, especially, it's you don't see it often. When you do, it's really unnerving.
Yeah, and especially the old days. I mean, the cars when they had carburetors, gasoline was shooting right through a carburetor, so that was a lot more common back in the day because there was, you had gasoline basically right up in the engine, shooting around the engine there with open carburetors and stuff like that. So, but at any rate, so that brought up that, but that wasn't. No one really kind of said much about that. The big mystery here, the big portion of this story is, first off, why was the guy in the back seat of the car? That was the first thing. A couple theories. Well, right. He was trying to test out I think what probably happened was he said to his friend, hey, let's test this out. I'm going to set the autopilot and I'm going to jump in the back seat. Well, the car didn't last very long because, almost immediately it crashed. Almost immediately after they left the location, their friend's house that they were at, the car crashed. So they didn't get too far with it. Now, Elon Musk comes into this because, of course, the minute that the media got a hold of this, autopilot going haywire, he came out and said, well, the data logs are showing that this car did not have autopilot activated when the car crashed. So, and he said, beside that, he said, even if it would have been activated or enabled, the street doesn't have in order for it to be enabled, it has to have two lines. It has to have a street with where it reads the lines in the road. And supposedly the street that this happened in did not have those lines. So he said the camera wouldn't have activated autopilot.
Well, yeah, but don't you also have to have both hands on the wheel for it to engage too?
Older Teslas, no. You could literally remember seeing videos of people sleeping behind the wheel of their Teslas. The car just driving down the freeway.
It's such a
dude.
bad
I used to
idea.
sleep behind the wheel, and I don't even
agree.
own a Tesla.
Yeah, that's true too.
And you made it to where you had to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the key here is, but I will say to this, GM and Ford, the other companies that are coming out with this, that came out with this technology recently, they are smart, because what they did is they have a camera that's built onto the, onto the steering column, and it monitors your eyes. It knows where your eyes are looking. So if you turn on a Cadillac, for example, with what Cadillac calls it Super Cruise, if you turn your eyes away, or let's say you fall asleep for more than 30 seconds, the car starts warning you. After about a minute, if you don't engage and start looking straight ahead again, the car actually pulls over to the side of the highway when it's safe to, and it alerts OnStar. So that's smart, because at least in that
you got
particular
eyelid tattoos of eyeballs?
Or those glasses with the eyeballs on springs.
Yeah, on
that's
springs.
Dude,
Man, that's a great.
You know, like what my whole problem with technology is people nowadays are so fucking lazy and so fucking stupid that they try to correct that with technology, which is not a fail-safe. So now you're telling me that people can't even drive when they're supposed to be paying attention.
Right.
So now that you're literally telling them, nah, you don't have to pay attention because your car is autopilot, like, what the fuck does that do to everyone else on the road? Like, now that's a liability because these fucking morons are sitting in the back fucking tugging off in the back seat while this fucking car is supposed to be driving.
Whoa.
I 100% agree with you, Buddha.
That's all allegations there. Okay. Just want to put that out there.
Oh, I'm sorry. He was making a sandwich.
Yes. There you go.
like the Winnebago.
But I agree with you 100%. I love technology, but I think it's getting out of control. I think as far as cruise control, I think like I've got adaptive cruise control on my car. I think, John, you have the same thing.
Yes.
On yours. That is where you still have to steer the damn car. The only thing it does is it brakes for you, and it accelerates and it brakes for you. You still have to pay complete attention to the road. I'm okay with it to that level. But when the car starts, like you said, steering, and people are not getting any smarter, it's obvious. People are more ridiculous and stupid than they've ever been.
You have a compact disc player on yours?
What?
You have a compact disc player on yours?
Yeah. No.
Dude, but even with the adaptive cruise control, like, it's still a part that could fail.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, that's like,
I don't use the adaptive. I turn it off. I hate it. I prefer, if I'm going to use cruise control, I'm just going to use the normal.
Yeah, see, I like adaptive cruise control. I do like it on the freeway, but again, I still have to keep complete attention to the road. I can't just turn around or fall asleep. If I do that, the car's going off the road and I'm gone. So, but now the interesting thing was Elon Musk initially said it won't set without somebody being in the seat for this, going back to the autopilot. Well, Consumer Reports just did a test on a 2020 Tesla. And they just proved that, yes, you can actually set the system without someone being in the seat, and the car will drive itself. So
that sounds like a lawsuit.
Yeah. So obviously this investigation, because it just happened, so the investigation is ongoing. After Elon Musk came out and said, well, our data logs show that, what's been recovered so far, that autopilot wasn't enabled. The local police, the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration, and National Transportation Safety Board they all started investigating it, and I believe they're going to subpoena his records, or go in there and they want to see these logs. They actually want to get a look at this information.
Well, how did they? But here's my question: how did they get the logs to begin with? Like,
so that
are you always connected to Tesla? Can they pull the stuff out of like satellite? Is it like a satellite connection that downloads into a database and server somewhere?
That's a good question. Because that was my initial question. If one of us in our cars got into an accident, the only way they can look at any kind of data logs would be in any way, shape, or form is the black box. Right? Yeah. The car has like a black box to it. Yes, and they can look at that information. But like you just said, on a Tesla, he came out almost immediately and said, according to our data log. So that makes me wonder about that, because I was to the impression I could see them coming up with that information months later, but he came up with it almost immediately. So it's got to be something where they're getting satellite information from the car, which is scary in itself constantly.
Their shit's probably all cloud-based, really. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's weird because and I was wondering about this today, and Dan, you might know. My car, I have a 2020 RAV4, and it is like the clock on it, for whatever reason, you don't have to set it. You only set the daylight savings time. So is it always connected to a satellite? You know what I mean? And what data is it transmitting?
Yeah, your car gives you all the newer vehicles get updates that are sent to them from the car companies themselves.
Via satellite?
Via satellite, yep. Your car could be sitting overnight and you wouldn't even know it, and you go in the next morning and it says, you have a system update. Would you like to do this right now? And it was literally sent overnight by the car companies. And most of the car companies are doing that now. That's not just a Honda or GM or anything. Everyone's doing that now to keep the systems updated, because these cars just have so much damn technology in them now. I agree with Buddha, man. It's getting it's actually starting to go. It's getting out of control. I mean, I love technology to a point, but these cars are nothing but they're electronic appliances with wheels on them basically now. And again, this brings up this whole story here. Again, they're still investigating this, and I'm sure they'll be investigating this for months, maybe years, to find out what exactly. And they may never know. I thought maybe the guy, who knows, he could have, got thrown in the backseat somehow, which I thought no one's actually brought that up, but they seem to think that nobody was in the driver's seat when this car crashed. So that's they're going to have to figure that one out. But as this technology gets more and more out there, autopilot, self-driving cars, like Buddha just said, I mean, people just think that, I cannot tell you how, I've seen videos of people sleeping behind the wheel of their Tesla, and in the words of Buddha, they look like fucking idiots. They look like absolute fucking idiots. They think they look cool. They think that looks like you're sleeping behind the wheel of the car. You think that really you look like a moron. I think it's going out of control. And I think as people are getting more stupid, these two guys here, I mean, these were not idiots, but you know what, as they say, intelligence and common sense don't always go hand in hand. So whatever this guy was trying to prove, if he did just decide to jump in the back seat, it's terrible that they died. That's a horrible, thing that happened. But I mean, what the hell? Jump in the back seat of the car? I mean, what were you trying to prove?
Right.
It's all about the look at me factor.
Yeah.
Right.
First guy to get an iPhone and he drops it. Remember that?
Yeah, that was great.
Was that the first iPhone, or was I forget? Which one
I don't remember.
Yeah, first one to have it, and he friggin' dropped it.
But yeah, so that was basically the story there. And it's like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here in the next 10, 15 years. A lot of companies are doing this they're, like I said, GM calls it Super Cruise, Tesla, Autopilot, which Tesla's starting to add updates and things to it now, so that people do have to start on the newer Teslas. You do have to, like, I believe, hold on to the wheel or tug the wheel every once in a while to show that you're still paying attention, or the car, it will eventually shut off. But the original Teslas, you could just fall asleep behind the wheel and the car would just drive itself.
I'm curious how that, I haven't bought a car in a while, but how that's worded in like the contract when you buy the car to release them of any liability.
Yeah, good question. So I actually meant to say that. So that's what Tesla's, of course, and all these car companies' defense is, that in the manuals, in the right in bold print, they tell you must stay active and pay attention to the road. That this isn't, things can fail, things can happen. You are absolutely supposed to keep 100% concentration on the road. So they do have that in the manuals and things like that. But people,
Well, here's my question.
That story.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know. This happened. I mean, I read about this. This happened like 25 years ago, 30 years ago. Asian family bought you mentioned a Winnebago. They bought a Winnebago, and it had cruise control, but they didn't call it cruise control. They called it.
That's the story that I was talking about when I said that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Yeah, they said autopilot, and then the guy went in the back, and the whole thing flipped off the side of the road.
Yeah, it's like I think we've talked about that before. Like, what did you do? Like, you got up, you didn't, and we're talking 25 years ago. So you know damn well you didn't program anything. It just was supposed to know where you're going. GPS wasn't even barely a thing back then.
Right.
So what did you do? Like, you got up, maybe you went to the fridge, you're making a sandwich. Like, I want to know how far it went. And like before you went, oh shit, maybe that's not a real thing.
Right. And you know what that story though, because that was where I was going with this whole thing though. You just mentioned about the liability, because they called it autopilot. I mean, obviously you're supposed to be smart enough to know this stuff, but because it was called autopilot, they thought that meant, I'm just going to set it and the damn thing's going to drive. There's no, I mean, you said 25 years ago, there wasn't technology for it. There's no cameras. So how do you even think the thing is going to drive itself? But because it was worded that way in the manual, they actually, I believe they won a lawsuit against Winnebago.
Like, dude, wording should have nothing to do when you're talking about just common sense. Like, what kind of fucking moron are you that you thought that made sense?
I agree.
Like, Jesus Christ, we're always just lowering the bar because people are so stupid. It's just like these crazy lawsuits when people win like that. Like, what judge is like, nope, totally makes sense. Like, okay, you're just as dumb as he is then? He's like, that would have got me too.
Yeah, I know.
Well, so like, then to my next question is, if you're supposed to stay coherent because you're driving, and that would be the responsible thing to do, you're supposed to stay awake. Right. What is the point of the autopilot?
So the autopilot, the point of it is on these cars is to take a little bit of stress away from your driving. So you still have to pay attention to the road, but it's you still have to pay attention, but you can kind of relax your reflexes a little bit by not having to keep the hand on the steering wheel, keep your foot on the pedal. It's just supposed to help.
Well, then you shouldn't be driving. If you can't do those things, you shouldn't be driving. Like, that's like saying, dude, call a fucking taxi, call an Uber.
Right.
Oh, I want to drive, but I don't want to perform the act of driving. Like, what the fuck? I want to eat, but I don't want to chew my food. Like, where does it end?
Right. And that's what I said. I mean, a lot of people have that argument. The enjoyment.
Huh? That's right.
Baby bird it.
Yeah, but that's a good argument, because people are like, the enjoyment, it takes away the enjoyment of driving. That's part of getting behind the wheel and being in control of the car, not having a computer control the car for you, because it is getting out of control. How about when they prove that they can hack into cars, when these people can hack into them and send the car off into a ditch for you, while you're driving it. I mean, it has happened.
What about when the machines take over?
I think they already have.
So I guess, like, when are you going to start just seeing, like, mass cases of people just getting hammered and being like, I put it on autopilot?
Right. And then it ends up killing somebody, some innocent person that was paying attention to the road and driving, and their Tesla smashes into them. That's good.
Dan, let me ask you a question. Do you enjoy driving?
I love driving. Absolutely.
What about it?
Life is a highway, man.
Wow.
Well, yeah.
Is that the song? Life is a highway. Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was hoping that you'd go into this big long spiel about how you like driving.
Oh.
But
Yeah, I love driving. I don't mind, like I said, up to the adaptive cruise control. And even then, I don't always set it. I just set it once in a while, like at night, or if it's a long, road, or not long road, but it's a long drive I'm going to be on.
Yeah, you want to catch a few minutes of sleep?
Absolutely. I want to fall asleep and my car will stir off the side of the road because I don't have autopilot. So, but yeah. Oh, God. So, good song. Oh, man.
Sorry.
So that's pretty much that was pretty much the story there.
Yeah. All right.
So basically, we just said people are stupid. You know what? I think Elon Musk is doing some pretty cool stuff, actually. But I think this stuff he should knock it off.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, with all the money he made with PayPal, and then obviously Tesla, I agree. He's doing a lot of cool things. He's doing a lot of things to move the world in a more technology-driven direction. But at some point,
take us.
And he's also been the one that's talked a lot about being afraid of AI, which is kind of weird.
Right.
When you start adding technology that essentially is creating automatons, like, I don't know, man, that's just like such a weird concept. We've already lost the human element in society in general because of social media and smartphones, and I mean, let's be honest, the generation that's coming up now is socially fucking retarded. I mean, they can't even have a conversation with people.
I agree with that.
Nice. They can't even have a conversation with people, but like, it's almost like they would walk away from you just to text you a response to something you may have said.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe I just sound like a grumpy old man.
No,
I'm pretty
I mean,
antisocial
dude,
as myself, but
even like the other day at Apple's announcement I was watching, like, they talk about these bionic chips that learn, and all I can think of is like, Cyberdyne Systems Model 101, the T800, talking about having a neural net processor, a learning computer.
Dude, the whole Neuralink thing for me is like way too much.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. I think we talked about this before. I'm all for it for like the medical capabilities, like bypassing dead nerves and essentially giving mobility and feeling back to, anyone with paralysis. Like, I think that's amazing, and I am all for that.
So if you're saying that it could help make somebody walk again, you're for it, right? Obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think
1,000%.
Yes.
I would think if you're not, then you just have some vendetta, because I don't understand.
Right. No,
that.
no.
Or maybe you're one of those people that just doesn't like the idea of playing God, as it's put. But I mean, why you wouldn't want to help someone, I don't know. But whatever. Like, I think that part of it is just freaking amazing. But like, I don't like the idea of essentially using it as an interface to the internet. Like, you already have no privacy as it is. And maybe you're just one of those people that just doesn't care or whatever. But to have something just tapped into your brain 24/7 and essentially reading your thoughts, potentially influencing your thoughts, like, man, like, once again, where does it end? How do you turn that off once it's in there?
Well, and even like Google Glass or Apple, Apple's augmented reality glass. I mean, that's essentially putting the internet as a lens over your life. Have you seen some of the demos of this stuff?
I thought the Google Glass thing like fell through.
Well, they're still trying to develop the technology, like, to be, I guess, more flawless, if that's the way to describe it. But it's weird how, when somebody puts a pair of these glasses on, it's like Terminator vision. Like, you're seeing names of places, people, building are popping up as you're walking past and looking at them. It's just crazy how.
Yeah, I don't like that, man.
Yeah, it's really weird.
It's too much. And the bottom. Oh, go ahead, man.
No, that's all you, Dan. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, getting back to what you were talking about, like the current generation, and I know I definitely sound like a grumpy old man, but the bottom line is that you got these kids now that spend literally 10 hours a day, if they're not in school, 10 hours a day in front of a video game system. They literally live, they don't even have an understanding of what reality is now, as this younger generation, because there's so much technology involved around, and they're enveloped in, that they can't get it. They don't know how, like you said, they're socially inept, most of them. They don't even understand reality, and they're influenced by so much crap and social media. No one has to have a brain. Well, this isn't just kids. This could be anyone. No one even has to have a brain of their own anymore, because so much stuff is being fed from so many different locations, and it's scary. And technology is obviously the reason for all that. The video games that we have now. And
speaking dumbing down of just things, Buddha, that AFI that you sent me today, woof,
dude,
what the fuck happened to that band?
I don't think I listened to any of those albums after
Sing the Sorrow.
Yeah, and even that album was a stretch for me. That was like
really?
03
I love that record. That record, I would have to say that's probably my favorite one by them. If not, it's an almost equal tie between that and Art of Drowning.
Art of Drowning definitely was the pinnacle.
But holy shit.
Yeah, dude. I had to double check that I clicked on the right song.
Okay, so hold on a second. What was the name of that song?
It's just their single. I don't remember the name. I've already exited that from my memory.
Is it the same members and everything?
I don't know. I know the singer still is.
Is this it here? Yeah, too far too near. Is that it?
I don't remember.
My God. All right. So, okay.
It's called Dulceria.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. Hold on. See, that kind of sounds like AFI. But here.
Yeah, I heard it. I was like, oh, the bass line's kind of cool. And then the rest of the song started.
Okay, so there's that right there. Okay. I'm going to play. Let's see. How did. Let's do. No. Okay. How does this band that goes from this to this?
Wow.
Dude, if that was a little bit faster with the hi-hat, it'd be like damn near Kiss, I Was Made for Loving You.
I mean, I just don't understand. Like, what?
Times change, man.
And dude, they've been a band. They were, dude, when Sing the Sorrow came out, they've been a band for a long time. They've been a band for almost how long now? It's got to be almost close to 30 years.
They were their first record was in the 90s, wasn't it? Early 90s?
Early 90s, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was early 90s.
Let's see how long they've been a band. It's on Wikipedia. 1991 to present. 30 years this year. Jesus Christ. I'm old. I just can't get, fuck. Yeah, Sing the Sorrow is going to be 20 years old in 2 years. I really am old.
That's how they get you.
My life. Yeah, but they're making music. I don't even know what the hell that was.
Contemporary sounding.
Yeah. I don't know. Let's see. Kind of a turd.
Tell you what, it ain't no Tarzan, boy, I'll tell you that.
Even the video's kind of weird.
Sounds like it would be.
The fuck happened? Davey Haddock. What happened?
Life happened.
What
That's what
happened
happened,
to you?
John.
Right.
Come on. Even just like, let's see here. This song here. Trying not to get in trouble here. Okay. But even like, same band that just. Oh, yeah.
It's just like, yeah, I mean, it's just like Metallica. I mean, when they, I don't know if you guys are Metallica fans or not, but I like Metallica. And when they came out with the album for, Enter Sandman, and then like 6 years later, they had the Load album. And it was like almost a night and day difference. And I actually like the Load album, or CD. But,
Dan likes the Load.
Shut the fuck up.
All right, no, Dan,
Asshole.
come on now. Okay, you went from this
Oh, no, I'm
to this.
That's totally different. Yes, that's a polar opposite.
I mean, good grief.
It's a polar opposite, but I'm just saying it does. But with the Metallica, it was only like a 6 year difference.
That stinks on ice. That's terrible. They should be ashamed of themselves. I bet you any money if like AFI from 20 years ago heard that, they'd kick their own ass.
Hang on. I got a better one for you. And we're not going to do music all night.
No.
Look up. Don't even do this, but for the 4 people that are listening, one of them is myself, and the other one's probably Dan. Yep. Look up the early stuff of Michael Bolton until whatever that he's actually known for, which is like the soft rock, trying to get laid stuff.
Yeah.
His early record is like an 80s rock record. I mean, it's a little softer, but it's like an 80s rock. He has like the leather jacket and shit on the cover. And then you see him and he's got like the white frilly shirt when he's making all that other shit. But that dude made millions, so hats off to him.
So, but the point is he changed completely from his first.
Oh, yeah. Well, dude, I mean, look at...
Goo Goo Dolls were the same way. They were a Buffalo punk band. And then they had that song Name come out. And then they're like, all right, we're doing pop ballads from now on.
Sugar Ray also. Sugar Ray was the same way.
Yeah, now Arby's. Wait, hold on.
I want crinkle fries.
What is that?
They changed Sugar Ray. I just want to fly for Arby's to I want crinkle fries.
That's terrible.
I did not hear that.
You didn't hear that yet?
No.
Let's see here.
Oh.
Tonight's episode of Type 3 is sponsored by Arby's.
I don't think you can say that.
It's not really. Well, yes. Hold on.
We wish it was.
Is that still Ving Rhames? Oh, yeah, totally is Ving Rhames still.
Well, that's the guy that does the...
I want crinkle fries.
Boy, I could have went my whole life without hearing that.
Fries.
Yeah.
I could have went my whole life without hearing that, John.
Why?
Oh, boy. Oh, it sounded horrible.
Ads,
sounded horrible.
Dude, everything just sucks now. Let's just
get out there and
say
I agree. Commercials are I absolutely hate commercials with a passion, dude. I want to punch my TV sometimes. I hate commercials so much.
Well, yeah.
I want to punch myself in the dick.
I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm going to give you the Kraken, but make sure you buy my pillow. And then you buy my slippers. They're perfectly engineered to fit your feet and make you go to sleep.
It's a good imitation, man.
Mike Lindell, from crack addict to CEO.
Can we all just agree that the top spokesperson ever was Billy Mays? God rest his soul.
Well, yeah. I mean, he
of
was...
course,
the
king.
Well, he had to... I mean, wasn't he a coke addict, too?
I would have to be to do that shit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he had to get... Yeah. All right, time to get pumped. Enough OxyClean. That's it. You got any clean,
just snorting OxyClean.
You got any of that clean, man?
He had a heart attack, didn't he?
Yeah.
It's cocaine, man.
Hannah.
That'll do it. Yep.
All right, let's wrap this up.
Well, what do you got? You got a story for tonight?
I'm going to cut it real short since you guys decided to talk about dumb shit for an hour. John, you actually might have heard this one because this was on Coast to Coast. Have you ever heard of the San Pedro haunting?
No, but I mean maybe I've heard of it.
You might have.
So many of them.
This woman, Jackie Hernandez, was a single mother who had her kids, left her husband, and moved out to San Pedro, California for a fresh start. And she's pretty stressed out over all this, essentially just struggling, working multiple jobs, trying to feed her kids, that she often would leave them under the care of her neighbor, Susan Castaneda. During this time in their stay in one of their, wow, I'm terrible at this. During this time in their stay in the home, that Jackie began to start experiencing strange things. And one night when she went to check on her children, she was met by a sight which was actually a haggard old man sitting in the room staring back at her, and assuming it was a ghost because she didn't live with a haggard old man. She described his eyes as glowing and emotionless. So in a state of panic, she runs over to the neighbor's house and is just freaking out, telling Susan everything that's going on. She's been hearing all these noises, and now she's just seen this old man who she thinks is a ghost that is just staring at her. So Susan actually believes her and tells her, hey, you should contact a paranormal investigator, which is this guy that she recommended, Barry Taff. And she recommended him because she had just seen on TV, he was investigating the Queen Mary, which, for anyone that's interested, is an old ship that is alleged to be haunted.
My grandparents came over on that ship, and I stayed on that ship once.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like that's not true.
Both of those are true.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. So Jackie ends up contacting Barry, and because of the fact that she had kids, he kind of escalated, prioritized what she was saying, and shows up with Jeff himself. I'm sorry. Wow. Where did that come from? Barry himself and his cameraman, Barry, and his photographer, Jeff. So once they walked in the house, they were immediately greeted by a foul odor similar to sulfur or rotten eggs that they could not locate. So they basically went around, opened up all the windows, and just tried to air out the house while they were around looking for, what could potentially be the source. So during the opening questions of the investigation, while they're talking to Jackie, they hear a loud bang that comes from the attic, and they sit for a second, and then there's another loud bang. So Jackie traced the source of the banging to the ceiling, which was above her kitchen, and she had claimed that she'd seen a ghostly image of a severed head there before, and she had also heard voices. So during the initial questioning, that she had claimed to have been a target of projectile objects from an unseen force, and a strange liquid had been chronically oozing from the walls. And there is pictures of this stuff, which I'm just too much of a piece of shit to give you because I didn't think that they were really all that great. Another thing that I read, and I don't 100% believe this because I couldn't actually find like a credible source, but they said once they actually tested like the liquid that was oozing from the walls, they said it was like blood, or it was plasma, like human plasma, like you would find in blood. But I kind of feel like that may have been fabricated because I couldn't actually find that anywhere.
Kind of like Amityville horror stuff there.
Yeah, like there's like a bunch of shit. Like they went around videotaping all this stuff while they were doing it, and then like I said, they were taking pictures.
What year did this happen?
Shit. 89 and between 89 and 90.
Okay.
Shit, I lost my place. Oh, so during the photo session after that happened, they went around and started taking pictures of everything in the house. And during this time, Jeff Wheatcraft, who's the photographer, went up to the attic to document that area. And Jeff was reportedly attacked, and then something threw his camera from his hands and pushed him. So at that point, they're like, fuck it, I'm out. We're leaving. So they leave, and she calls them back, and she's like, hey, this stuff is still going on. I'm freaking out. I don't know what to do. So they're like, okay, we'll come back. We'll take another look around. So they come back on September 4th, and at this point, they've kind of like pinpointed that, hey, you know, I think a lot of what's going on is like centered around whatever's in the attic, because that's where they heard the noise. And obviously that's where Jeff, you know, his camera was flung out of his hands. So they're like, all right, I want to get up there and I want to take a look and, you know, see if we can find anything. So they pull the stairs down, they go back up in the attic. And while they're up there, they're snapping pictures, and Jeff is on his way out, and then he hears the other guy up there, Gary, hears a scream and turns around, and they're snapping pictures, and Jeff actually has like a cord wrapped around his neck, and it's like hung over a nail on the joist or on the rafter, and it's like essentially strangling him. So then Barry runs over to him and helps him off, and at this point they're just like, nope, we're done, we're out. But there's actually a picture of him, because when that happened, the dude was taking pictures. So as he screams and he's like tied up being strangled, there's Barry ended up snapping a pic. Wow, Gary ended up snapping a picture. I'm terrible at telling fucking stories. So basically they have like this actual evidence. Yes, I know. So they have all these pictures and whatnot, but they, you know, their conclusion is, yes, something is going on. So after that happens, they leave. Jackie eventually moves out of the house and moves back in with her estranged husband, which is 300 miles away from there. And everything seemed normal. You know, clearly the case wasn't solved, but it was at least, you know, what they would call closed, because they did confirm there is something there going on. So one night, this is later on, Jackie says she's helping a neighbor store a TV in their shed, and she claimed that the screen flickered on and the old man from the San Pedro house was actually staring back at her. So loud bangs start coming from the shed, just as they did in the attic, and she ends up calling Jeff and Barry again, and they decided to travel up there to meet her, and they actually ended up holding a seance using a Ouija board, and just to try to, you know, contact the apparition of the old man. And whether you believe in Ouija boards or not, this is what they got out of it. There's multiple spirits haunting the area. Jeff had been targeted because he looked like the old man's murderer. So they're saying that this old man who was haunting this house was actually murdered. And it says that it was using Jackie for her energy, which is why she was being haunted. And just as the electronic equipment seemed to malfunction, Jeff was then attacked again by some unseen force, which it didn't do any damage to him, but at this point he's just he's over it mentally. So it said she'd moved several times over the course of the next several years, and paranormal activity seemed to lessen every time that she would move, and she eventually settled back in LA, but far away from her former home. So it says residents have come and gone in her San Pedro home, the one she lived in originally with the haunting, and several of those residents have claimed her, you know, hearing strange and unexplainable sounds coming from the attic. And ultimately, the team believed the ghost to be that of a man named Herman Hendrickson, who was a 28-year-old man whose body was discovered floating in the harbor in March of 1930, and the death was officially ruled an accident by the Los Angeles Police Department. And Barry Taff also believed the ghost of the Haggard man was that of John Damon, who originally built the home and perhaps still resides there. So once again, no proof of, you know, who it actually was, or if there was actually someone that lived there that was murdered there. It could all be made up, but if you actually take a look at some of the pictures and some of the video of it, you know, kind of form your own opinion. But I do think it's kind of cool, like the picture that they have of him, you know, stuck up in the attic, like being essentially strangled. And I guess now that I look at it, I probably should have sent you that one, John, because that would be the most famous one. But that being said, this is one of the most like well documented, most famous paranormal cases. So it's and like I said, it was on Coast to Coast, and it got a decent amount of publicity as well. But it's one that actually has what they would call evidence.
crazy.
I'm looking at a few of the pictures here, and it shows like one of him like going up or coming. I don't know if he's going in or coming out of the opening in the ceiling where the attic is at. And then I see the one where he's hanging there against the rafter.
Yeah, that's the one that that's like the big famous one.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, see?
Have you? So you haven't heard that one, John?
No, I've not. But to me, the creepiest one, and I've talked about this one a lot, is the Tallman story with the bunk bed.
I don't know if I know that one.
Well, I think it's just because it stuck with me all these years from Unsolved Mysteries, where this family. I talked about it the last show.
Yeah. Yeah, they bought the bunk bed
they had spirits terrorizing this family for weeks on end.
It was Unsolved Mysteries. Yep, I remember that one.
Yep.
Wait, you talked about it on the last show. Why do I not remember that?
Because you probably weren't listening.
Probably. Give me the very brief rundown.
Long story short, this family bought a set of bunk beds. Right after they moved the bunk beds into the house, they started seeing ghosts. The kids started seeing like a creepy old woman. The husband came home from work one night and like he had his lunch pail in his hand and it basically just ripped it out of his hands. The radio dial was going back and forth and changing stations. Somebody else saw another ghost where after the husband had challenged the ghost, basically the ghost or the apparition or whatnot appeared to him like while he was dozing off one night, and it scared the hell out of him, and then it told him, you're dead. One night he came home late from work and he parked his car and looked at his garage and everything looked fine. Then he looked back again and it looked like his garage was on fire. Just a lot of like psychiatric things or like stuff to mess with his psyche. But yeah, they did a whole episode of Unsolved on it.
I do not remember you talking about that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like literally like 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a long time
ago. You did a story
ago.
on it, John.
Yeah, I've talked about it several times. I think, like I said, I remember seeing the episode when I was a kid. And then, I think early 2000s, they started releasing box sets of Unsolved Mysteries based upon the subject matter. Like they had one on aliens and UFOs. They had one on ghosts, one on miracles, one on mysteries, like crime, murders and stuff like that. And I bought the aliens one and the ghost ones, and again, that one just scared the ever loving shit out of me.
Going to the fact of if you believe in that a certain item can be haunted, that goes back to the story. One of the very ones I did was the one with the plane, Flight 401 or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, the ghost of Flight of 401.
Yeah, and that got some attention to where numerous people were seeing weird shit on these other planes that they were using these parts in, and to the point where Pan Am had to start kind of putting a lid on all this stuff because it was getting out there that there was weird stuff going on.
That's the same with like Little Bastard too.
Was that James Dean's car?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. Oh, that's right. Yep. I forgot
they were all getting different pieces of parts. Not everybody died that got a piece or a part of it, but there was multiple crashes.
Dan's like, what'd you call me?
Right.
Yeah. He's a little bastard.
I actually did a story on the Porsche.
Yes, you did. Also in the Type 3 vault.
Was it a Roadster? Is that what it was?
It was it was a Roadster, but that wasn't what they called it. I think it was like a Porsche 401 or something like that. I don't remember the name of it. It wasn't called a Roadster. I think it had like a 401 or 555 or something, some shit like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, remember when we did the Jay Mansfield episode, right? I think it's only got like 600 views, and then somebody stole it off us and put it online, and then thousands. Then it had like almost it was like 200,000 views. Give those back to us.
Yeah,
I want those. Those are mine. Ours, sorry. Anyway, yeah. No, and I always like the episodes of Art Bell where you had put on the GIS of Utah, the Ghost Investigator Society, where they would do all the EVP. That one.
I think that was some of the ones that you played for us before.
Yeah, there's other ones out there too, but those were like the most clear and most readily available EVP. I can't stand the stuff that like you see on like sci-fi, like Ghost Adventures and things like that. I don't know. It just, to me, it seems like it's all conjured up for.
Oh, it's so fake.
Well,
it'll
it's
sound like a
for
wet
TV, but the other, yeah. And then
it'll sound like a wet fart, and they'll be like, "He said I love you."
Yeah. Yeah. And whereas these people, they didn't have anything to profit off it. They literally just did it to do it, and they never told you what you were going to hear. They would just play it, and it was kind of like, well, what do you hear? And then they would talk about it, and that was the cool part about it. And a lot of times, people, Art and the guests, they'd meet in the middle, and it would be like, wow, that's the same thing I heard, or I heard something differently. So
I actually just watched a video today, and it was like a 10 or 15 second video, and it was like it would just play a random sound, and before the video it would show like two different words, and it was like whichever word you read is what you'll hear. And like I did it both ways, and I'm like, sure as shit, it's like you can hear the same thing literally one right after the other, and if whatever word you're focusing on, that's exactly what it sounded like.
Well, it's crazy too. We were talking about this at dinner the other night, like how people have accents, and really it's not, the accent is because of how they learn to speak a word. Like, for example, English people or people of the UK, my grandmother was from Wales, and so we grew up saying bath, but she would say bath, like just and so you think about it, and accent coaches for actors, it's like, it's not about just having the accent or born with it or born in a certain part of the world. It's just how you learn how to speak the language.
Did your grandma also say jonker?
No.
Okay.
Bloody hell. She did say bloody a lot, though. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I always thought like you were born with that voice, and like, well, I mean, you are, but how you pronounce words, I thought the accents were things that you were born with, as opposed to something that was more learned. I say a lot. Last week I was driving, listening to our episode, and I'm like, I wanted to bell every time I said the word, Like, God,
did it make you want to go full autopilot and get in the back seat?
Yeah. It almost put me to sleep. So, but yeah. Well, you guys got anything else for tonight?
No, I think we're
good.
pretty good.
Yeah. Well, then let's land this flight of 401 and not crash it. Of course. Let's see here.
Wait for it.
Wait for what?
Oh, I thought you were going to do your Satan voice.
Oh, my Satan voice? No. I think I'll just do this one again, one more time for you, Dan.
So bad.
La la.
Sounds like that slow-mo video of the fart.
La la. La la. La la.
Imagine if you heard that while you were sleeping.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like when I sleep every night with my sleep apnea. It sounds like a 2-cylinder 1970s Honda moped or something.
Like idling.
Yeah.
It's just sitting there idling. Yep.
Yeah. They just stuck the microphone out in the garage. Hey, son, did you turn on your moped? All right.
Yep, it's on, Dad.
Hey. All right. Well, as is every week, live Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For Dan Rady, Steve Gibson. Not you, Davey Havoc. Disappointed in you.
Bad.
Yeah, bad on you, Davey Havoc. Please don't sue us. Tune in every Thursday night for the latest and greatest episode of Type 3 TV, or watch at your leisure. They're all up there. They're not getting any views. We just do this for ourselves, I guess, but maybe one day people will catch on. Again, how do we go from talking about creepy and weird things to, hearing some lady sing the C1 note? I don't know. It just happens. But anyways, trying to kill time here to build up into the song. Got a few more seconds. But anyways, say good night, Buddha.
Good night, Buddha.
Say that again.
Good night, Buddha.
Good night, everybody.